Hello, I'm John Pledger with Triad Bee Supply in Trinity, North Carolina. Today we're going to talk about how to harvest your honey. One of the options we have for harvesting your honey is using a Rubbermaid or a plastic tote. Take a simple board, run a screw in the end of through the board so that you have something to anchor your frame to when you go to uncap it. The example is you set the frame on the screw. Then when you take your knife, the base of the frame is going to be stationary and you'll be able to cut the cappings off. Cappings drop into the tote and then you're able to strain out your honey from there. Another way of uncapping your honey is to use a capping extractor. And we're fortunate enough today to have a capping extractor, and this works very much the same way as the tote does. It has a board that has a screw in it that you anchor the base of your frame to, so that when you do cap, the base of the frame stays stationary and you can control the frame and it won't fall into the capping extractor. Down in the capping extractor you have blades that are turning around that will cut the cappings up as they fall in and will centrifuge the honey out of the cappings, and you can gain a little bit more honey that way. Since we're using the power extractor, we're going to need at least 6 frames to go through with. There again, when you're coming up through here, you notice there's some low areas that I'm not uncapping. Also, I tilt the frame a little bit forward so the cappings fall off the knife and directly into either the tote or the capping extractor. Once you run your knife all the way to the top, then your task will be to try to get all these low areas. You can do that with the knife, or you can use something like a hackler honey punch, which is designed to break the cappings that are on the frame and to allow the honey to come out. The hackler honey punch is a very good tool for that. Each spike is manufactured so that it matches up with the spacing of the frame itself. And so once you get all the low areas punctured, then you're able to put that into the extractor. Don't forget, every frame has 2 sides. Another way of getting the low areas is with a scraping knife, uncapping scratcher. It works very similar to that of the hackler honey punch. My preference is the hackler honey punch. It rolls instead of having to actually scratch at the individual cells to get them open. And whichever way you decide to go with, you'll develop your own techniques for getting the caps off and become very proficient at it with a little bit of time and practice. But you would take this, it's called a cold knife. You'll take it and set it into hot water, let the blade get pretty warm, and it's a serrated blade, and you'll use it the same way I was using the electric knife. You'll go back and forth cutting the cappings off. One end of the knife will be on the bottom bar of the frame, the heel of the knife will be on the top bar of the frame, and you'll just work your way up through here. Now, one of the common mistakes we make when we start to uncap, especially if you're of Scotch-Irish descent such as myself, I like to save as much as I can, because this cone honey is like gold to the beekeeper. I'll have a raised area here and I'll try to raise up and just get the cappings, because I'm seeing all this honey going into my capping extractor, and I say, well, you know, I'm losing honey when I do that. Well, if I do that, then what I have is the next year, this small bulge will be a larger bulge. The indentation in the frame next to it will be a deeper indentation. So over the years, what I've learned is you just go ahead, sacrifice that little bit of honey, which you're going to get it back a little bit later anyway, just from a different tank. Go ahead and make your frames as straight as you can. The bees, you're going to put this back into the hive, and the bees are going to mend and repair all the imperfections caused by the extractor person that's doing the uncapping. We can make a mess of it, but the bees can fix it all back. And here again I have some more low areas. Like I say, the hackler honey punch works great for me. One thing I didn't do is set up a cup of cold, icy cold water. One thing I have found with the Hackler honey punch, that if you set it into a cup of icy water, ice water, in between each different frame that you use, that honey will dissolve slowly, but the wax becomes brittle and will fall off the Hackler honey punch a lot faster than if you use warm water.